Greetings everyone and welcome back to an in-depth review of a laptop, which is a bit unusual for this channel since I mainly focus on phones and sometimes tablets, but I was given an opportunity to take a look at a laptop, so I figured to just shake the content up a little bit, I'd accept it, and here we are. So a massive thank you to Huawei for organising this sample to be sent out to me, I really do appreciate it. It is one of the biggest brands to have asked me to review an item for them on my channel, so for that I am absolutely grateful to be given the opportunity, and I hope I can deliver a great video for them, as well as you, the viewer. Since I always like to go very in-depth with my videos, there are timestamps in the description as well as the pinned comment to skip to wherever you need to be. This video is fairly self-explanatory and I tried to minimize the rambling, but if you need to use the timestamps to see gaming or the teardown or whatever you want to see, that is why they're implemented. And also, if you are interested in this item, there is a link down in the description below. It is not an affiliate link, so I'll not earn anything if you go there and purchase it. It's just down there for your convenience. I'm also not being paid by Huawei for this review, and all opinions within this video are my own. They have simply sent out the sample to me for review and share my thoughts, and that's what I plan to do. Alright, so let's start off with the pricing, specifications, as well as some of the advertising for the Huawei Matebook 14 to get a better understanding of what is being offered. So in the current Huawei Matebook lineup, we have the mainstream Huawei Matebook D14, which is currently retailing for $949 Australian. Then we have the premium model, which is the Huawei Matebook 14, which is the one I'm reviewing today, for $1,399 Australian. And then there's the flagship Huawei Matebook X, which is currently retailing at $2,388. Each laptop does offer slightly different specifications. For example, the flagship Matebook X Pro has a touchscreen, whereas the Matebook 14 and Matebook D do not have touchscreens. Each laptop in this lineup is also made with an aluminium unibody, so even if you go the more expensive one or opt for the cheapest mainstream version, they all have the same aluminium build. But as I said before, the one I'm reviewing today is the Matebook 14, and that is currently retailing in Centacom stores around Australia, as well as Huawei retail stores for $1,399 Australian, which I know is a bit pricey for this channel, but I will display a currency conversion chart on screen so you get a good idea of how much this laptop will cost around the globe. And these currency conversion charts sometimes can be hit or miss due to other costs like shipping and tax and all that sort of thing. The specifications for the Matebook 14 are displayed on screen. So the key features are the 14-inch 2K Huawei Full View display, which has a resolution of 2160 by 1440, as well as a 3:2 aspect ratio, which is a little strange to see on a laptop, but I'll demonstrate this further on in the review. The battery is a 7330 mAh battery, or 56 watt hours is the rated capacity. The only colorway for this is space gray. We've got the size and weight, and this is a fairly thin laptop as well as being a light one. Connectivity options, we do have Wi-Fi 6, as well as Bluetooth. The laptop has Windows 10 Home installed by default, but it is eligible for a Windows 11 upgrade when that is available. Our processor is the Intel Core i5-1135G7, which is a quad-core processor with a maximum turbo frequency of 4.2 GHz. With integrated Intel Iris Xe graphics, we have 8GB of DDR4 3200 MHz RAM, a 512GB NVMe SSD, one USB-C port, two USB-A 3.2 ports, HDMI port, and an audio jack. We have 4 onboard microphones as well as 2 speakers. The camera is a 720p HD recessed camera, which I'll show you that, and the keyboard is a full-size backlit keyboard. Now, something I'd like to mention while the specifications are on screen is that unfortunately there are no upgrade options available for this laptop. Pretty much what you see on screen is about as best as you can get. The only thing you can really do is upgrade the 512GB SSD to a high capacity one if you wanted to, and the memory is only 8GB, and that is as far as you can get with this model. Once again, just showing the Huawei Matebook family. So you've got the flagship, the premium, and the mainstream one, which I covered earlier. And as I said, each one has different specifications and features catered towards the needs of the person looking for a laptop. The 2K Huawei Full View display at 2160 by 1440 resolution, 300 nits brightness, 1500:1 contrast ratio, and 100% sRGB color gamut. It also has ultra narrow bezels, which means there's no space to fit a camera on the screen. However, the camera is actually situated within the keyboard. I'll show you that soon. And once again, the aspect ratio for the Matebook 14 is 3:2, which for me is a little bit strange as I'm used to 16:9, and the mainstream $949 model does have the 16:9 aspect ratio, but the premium and flagship models both have the 3:2 aspect ratio, which is mainly catered towards office productivity with spreadsheets, documents, browsing, and all that sort of thing. Now, the Matebook 14 is made with an all aluminium build, and the total weight of the laptop comes in at just 1.49 kilos, which I'm not too sure what that is in other measurements, but it's easy to carry around, and with it being fairly thin, you can just throw it into a backpack or a small bag and off you go. Now, as mentioned before, forward the aluminium body of the Huawei Matebook 14. It's actually made with an aircraft grade aluminium alloy unibody, which is a bit of a mouthful, but that is applied to all around the laptop to give it a very premium feel. Here is the recessed camera, which I will show further on in the review, but basically the camera just sits in between the F6 and F7 keys and just pops up when you push it. There is a little LED next to the camera to show if it's actually being used or not, but if you're worried about your privacy, the webcam will sit nice and flush in between the keys, and if you want to use it, just pop it up. Now there is a fingerprint power button. So basically what this is once you enroll a fingerprint and password into the laptop, you just press the one button to power the laptop on, and it will automatically log you into Windows without having to actually go to a login screen. It'll just recognize your fingerprint and log you straight in, which is pretty nifty. The laptop also contains an updated thermal design. Thanks to the new Huawei dual shark fin fans and dual heat pipe design, the laptop stays cooler even when under load, with heat dissipation improved by 50%. And in that picture, the cooling system does look pretty beefy, so when I start doing benchmarks and gaming, we'll check the temperatures to see how good the cooling is, as well as to check to see if the fans are really quiet or jet engine loud. Battery life with the 7330 mAh battery, or 56 watt hours, gives you about 11 continuous hours of 1080p local video playback, and with the included 65 watt fast charger, if you just plug it in for 15 minutes, you can get up to 2.5 hours of office use, which I will demonstrate later in the video. Speaking of the 65 watt portable fast charger, here it is here, which you can use this with other Huawei devices, like their tablets or phones, as it is just a standard USB Type-C charger. There is also a switch to performance mode to switch the CPU and GPU into a performance mode to get the most potential out of the laptop. However, this will only work if the battery life is over 20% or plugged in. Another cool thing with this laptop is the Huawei Share multi-screen collaboration, which basically means you can pair your smartphone or tablet just by simply tapping on the touchpad, which the touchpad actually has NFC built into it. And with a few simple steps, you can control your tablet or phone on the laptop screen, and you can have up to 3 windows open at a time for multitasking, but it will only work with Huawei devices with NFC and are running EMUI 10 or higher. The Matebook 14 has also been thoroughly tested in various scenarios to ensure the laptop have been the best quality and lasting as long as it can. So that is the pricing, specs, and listing covered. So the question is, how does this laptop from Huawei perform? Well, let's unbox it and take a better look. Okay, I'm now having to film in my kitchen. I've decided to put this Vans tablecloth down because it looked cool. Hopefully it's not going to affect people with the whole checkerboard pattern, but it should be okay. Well, we have the Huawei Matebook series box. I'm not too sure how long this took to get to me. I don't know if this came from within Australia or China, I'm not too sure. But regardless, I've got it here, and I've got to say it's a bit weird covering a laptop on this channel than a phone. It's so much more different. Right on the side of the box, we do have the quick specifications, the serial number, the weight, and all that stuff. So now we'll open the box up and take a look at the product. Also, if you can hear crickets, I apologize. I'm filming at night time. Should have filmed in the day, would have been smarter. All right. Slicing through the stickers, we can now pop this open to reveal everything inside. Now, I was told that the charger is going to be a European one. I'm not too sure if there's a travel adapter included. If not, that's all good. I do have a 45 watt Type-C USB charger anyways. This is a 65 watt charger, which this laptop does support the quick charging as shown in the specifications and listing, but this is a fairly beefy unit. But hopefully my one that I do have will work fine with this, but for testing purposes, I'll also be using this. We have our Type-C USB cable. It's not wrapped up or anything, and that cable is about 2 meters in length. Actually, it's a 1.5 meter one. We also get our warranty card, and now we can just lift the laptop out. Take a look at this, and it's lightweight. 1.5 kilos, I think it said. That's it there. Ooh, nice and shiny. Thinking back to when I originally agreed to review this, I think they said to me that this was going to be a demo unit, so thus why things are unpackaged inside of this. It may have already been tested, I'm not too sure, but it's all good. If you get a retail one, it will be all nicely packaged up. Because yeah, as you can see, there are some scratches on my unit, but most of them just clean off, so that's all good. Here we have the Huawei branding, just like so, on the nice shimmery shiny aluminium finish. On the side, we do have our 2 USB 3.2 ports, the front side of the laptop just like so, USB Type-C port, headphone jack, and an HDMI port, and that should be an LED indicator. And the back side just looks like so, and then flipping it over, we can actually see the dual fans that are installed in this. I will be tearing this apart so we can take a look at the motherboard and battery and all that stuff. But just remember, as I said in the specifications, the only upgrade option you have with this is upgrading the SSD to a higher one. You can't put more RAM in this or add a 2.5-inch hard drive. The model number is KLVDWDH9, running Windows 10, but the free upgrade to Windows 11 if you want to. And we've got the dual speaker grills just like so. Holding it, it is lightweight like they said, and it is very solid in terms of build quality. And now opening this up, so someone has been in here previously because there's fingerprints all at the top there. But that's alright though. Yeah, someone has been using this because there's marks on the spacebar as well. I'm hoping it should be all good. But regardless, we do have our keyboard, which does feel quite nice. Core i5 sticker and Iris Xe graphics. The touchpad, which does have nice solid clicks to it. And the one thing that I love about this, the camera right there. So there is our webcam, which just pop that down. There you go, hidden. Pop it up, there it is. That's a really nifty feature, I like this. And of course we have our 14-inch 3:2 aspect ratio, 2160 by 1440 display with a maximum brightness of 300 nits. And basically this is a full-size display with minimum bezels. And of course the 3:2 aspect ratio has been implemented into this to allow for better productivity while using this. We do have the fingerprint sensor, which I will be testing out later on. But let's power this on and see how we go. There you go, backlit keyboard. Huawei logo, and that's it. We've already booted. So we'll go ahead and set this up.
Keyboard is set to US. Want to stick with that?
No, Cortana. Shush. Okay. I have set up a password and now it's asking me to do the fingerprint, so we may as well set that up. Just like on Android, same sort of thing. There we go. So while it's setting up, you can see the display with very, very minimal bezels there. And obviously no webcam as that's built into the keyboard. And we do have a glass layer over the IPS LCD. However, this laptop does not feature a touchscreen. The more pricier one includes a touchscreen. And we've booted up. Now there are some pre-installed apps included with this, like the Huawei PC Manager, the multi-screen software, which I will demonstrate, as well as a user guide, but otherwise this is fairly stock. And just taking a better look at the display as well, the colors are extremely crisp, it looks really, really nice. And now that I've turned some of the lights off, you can see just how bright the display is. So I'm definitely liking the display already. However, I'm used to widescreen, so it will be interesting to see how browsing and games look on this display. Now you can press F3 to enable the backlit keyboard if you want to, and then you can also adjust the brightness of the screen using the function keys, which is just quite nice. That is the absolute maximum brightness there. And also along the top of the keyboard, we do have all these standard shortcuts as well. So pressing function and P should enable performance mode, but computer needs to be plugged in and the battery over 20%. So once we get into benchmarking and gaming, I'll enable this mode and we'll test that out. So now that I have this connected to my Wi-Fi and everything is all set up, I want to test the one-touch power button, which means if I just press the power button, it will automatically sign into Windows for me, since I've put a password and enrolled my fingerprint. So we'll give that a go. So here we go, this is going to be real time for the boot speed, so just one touch, and we'll see how long it takes. There we go. That was very, very, very fast. So I'm happy to say that one touch power button does work fine, and instead of having to enter in my password every time, fingerprint, done, everything's good. The 512GB SSD is separated into two partitions. One is a 120GB partition for the Windows installation. The rest is then allocated to data. Checking the specifications, once again to confirm we've got the i5 1135G7, 8GB of RAM, 64-bit Windows 10 home. Now opening up the camera on the laptop, obviously nothing's shown, but if I now just press like so, there's everything there. And then if I want to hide it, like so. Very nifty feature. Some laptops use a little slider over the camera, or some don't even have a webcam at all, but this is hidden in the keyboard. Just also a quick typing test with this. The keys are very silent, but they do have enough feedback to them so they don't feel so stiff. Honestly, this keyboard feels a lot like some of the ThinkPad laptops that I've used over the years with the keyboards. This is actually quite nice. I'm just typing in gibberish, but oh, that's quite nice. Well, at this point in time, everything's looking really great on this laptop. However, what I want to do is update this, install my own applications, and we'll start testing out the other functionality of this laptop. Like I'll connect my P30 Pro to this to try the multi-screen. We'll do a browsing test, audio test, gaming test, benchmarking, and we'll see how this Huawei Matebook performs. All right, so I'm going to do the charging test for the Huawei Matebook 14. So it's completely dead at the moment. As you will see, the battery icon will just show. And that's all we get. So I've got the 65-watt adapter. We'll plug this in and run a stopwatch and see how long this takes. I've restarted the test and we'll see what the battery's at. So it's at 1% with 5 hours and 37 minutes left. All right, so it is at 2% now and it says 1 hour and 51 minutes until fully charged. We'll keep it going and see how long it does take, as charging this for 15 minutes should get us 2.5 hours of office work. So we've just passed 15 minutes and the laptop is at 17%, which should give you about 2.5 hours of just office productivity, so just opening up Word or something like that. Should be absolutely plenty on 17%, and we've got 1 hour and 13 minutes left until it's completely charged. So I won't continue on filming this segment, as I just wanted to show the 15 minutes of fast charging capabilities, and I'm more than happy with the results. So we'll finish off this segment and we'll continue on talking about the battery life, how it lasted with editing and normal browsing. And if we go by what Windows says being 1 hour and 11 minutes till fully charged, then this means that the fast charging capabilities with the 65 watt fast charger are definitely all as advertised, so I'm happy with the results. So we'll continue on and keep going with this review. Alright, so that's demonstrating the charging speeds for this laptop. Now in terms of battery life, I did some rough editing on one of my previous videos that I've uploaded on Vegas Pro 14, and I managed to get 3.5 hours of editing, which put the battery percentage from 95% down to 23%. And I also done a continuous video playback test for about 10 hours on 50% brightness and 50% sound. May have been a little bit longer than 10 hours, but let's just call it at 10 hours for me. And that was streaming video, not locally playing it on the laptop. With the charging speeds, I'm fairly happy with that. And in terms of battery life, I think it performed fairly well in that department. Now, at this point in time, I've also gone ahead and installed some games as well as some other additional programs, but I do want to show the one application that is installed by Huawei. The multi-screen collaboration is just a video, and of course we've got the user guide as well as link now, but Huawei PC Manager is basically a program where you can configure the performance of the laptop, which you can just set performance and balanced, and you can also manage data on a Huawei phone or Huawei tablet. But I'm going to show you the screen mirroring from a Huawei P30 Pro that this laptop is compatible with. Granted, my P30 Pro has definitely seen some better days, but pretty much all you need to do is do that. So you can connect it via Bluetooth, or you can just connect it via NFC, which the touchpad is NFC. Once it's done that, you can connect with the Matebook, shows that you're now connected, you allow the multi-screen collaboration to work, and it should work. So that's on the screen there, and then I can go ahead and do everything that I need to on here. Now that the phone's connected, you can just put that down and go ahead and use your phone on the laptop. It only works with newer Huawei devices, and you can use up to 3 windows on this, and you can also put the phone in landscape mode to then enable landscape mode on here, and then you can use it just like so. It is a very nifty feature to implement, that's for sure, and it does come in handy if you want to show something on your phone on a bigger screen by just simply opening up the application, tapping on the touchpad, it all opens up. And then you can also back up everything on your Huawei device using this application as well. If I did use a Huawei phone as my daily driver, then this would be absolutely useful, but for what it is and for what I need it for, to just quickly show it off, it works quite well and there's no complaints here. But otherwise, in terms of default applications, that is absolutely everything that is included, so there's no bloatware, which I'm very happy with. And going back to just the general usability of the laptop, while I've done my editing, video streaming, browsing, tried some games, all seems pretty good. It is really snappy for what it is. I just wish you could upgrade this to have 16GB of RAM, but it is what it is, and what it is at currently is nice and snappy, and I can easily see myself using this as a work laptop, you know, for my YouTube videos, editing, all that sort of stuff. Now, while I'm here, I do want to show you the camera test. So once again, just popping that up. There's your webcam just there, even though you can't really see it, but I'm going to splice in the video that I did take with this Huawei Matebook. And while it's nothing special, it's more than enough for video calls and all that. Okay, so this is the camera test for the Huawei Matebook 14. And with the webcam positioned on the keyboard, it is a little bit strange to get used to, but this is what it would look like in a normal situation if you're doing an office meeting or Zoom meeting or something like that. This is what it's going to look like. You'll be looking at someone on the screen, and this is sort of the angle that they'll see you on. I've just got it resting on a bed at the moment, and I'm sitting on the floor, so that's kind of why it's a little bit how it is. The camera is designed for office use, video calls, all that sort of thing, and it will be more than enough to do this, and you're also hearing the microphone quality as well during this test. It's a tiny little sensor in there, you can't expect too much, and the microphone quality during that was also fairly good. Now this next segment I'm going to be doing the browser test, speaker test, display test, as well as having a hardware monitor on screen, just so I can keep a better track of the temperatures. So just on idle, the Core i5 1135G7 quad-core processor is hovering around 31 degrees. So if I go ahead and open Google Chrome, obviously the temperature does bump up a bit, but the laptop is still completely silent, which is good. But if we do some quick browsing, open my YouTube channel, nice and fast, nice and snappy. But now I want to show the Costa Rica in 4K video to give a look on how nice the display's on this. So the Costa Rica in 4K 60fps video looks a little something like this. And just to zoom in as well on how nice it looks. It's super, super, super crisp. But you might be able to see the aspect ratio being cut off slightly at the top and the bottom. This is due to the 3:2 aspect ratio, but it's not that much of a problem. You can't stretch the video out to the full display resolution, as that will completely warp the video. That's what it's looking like. 4K at 60fps, looking very nice. And once again, I will give credit to this screen because it's just really, really nice. I thought it was an AMOLED display at first, but no, it just looks extremely sharp and crisp. Next up, what I want to do is the speaker test, which is a little bit strange doing this on a laptop, but I do need to demonstrate it somehow. So I'm going to bump this all the way up, and here we go. And the maximum that we got up to was 101.2, so I'm happy to say that the speakers on this are definitely nice and loud, and since I'm used to testing Wacom devices with only one cheapo speaker, I've got two decent speakers, so hearing BFG division in stereo is quite nice. And at the maximum volume, it is quite loud, with minimal distortion, and there's also a decent amount of bass that I could hear during that. So at this point in time, I've went over the general functionality, battery life, webcam, display, browsing, all that sort of stuff, but I really want to get into the performance. So the games that I have loaded on this is Grand Theft Auto Vice City Definitive Edition, I know, let's just try it out, Crysis Remastered, Doom 2016, and F.E.A.R. I also have Cinebench, Core Temp, CPU-Z, Fraps, GPU-Z, and AS SSD Benchmark to test the speeds for the SSD, so I'll go ahead and check the performance of the SSD, which shows that we do have a Western Digital drive within this laptop, so I'll leave everything on default, and I'll go ahead and run the benchmark just to see what the read and write speeds are. So there we go, we do have the score of 3613, and the read and write speeds on this are pretty good. Not too sure of the Western Digital drive that they've put in this, if it's like a Western Digital green or a Western Digital blue, I'm not too sure. When I tear it apart, I'll get a better look at it, or I could just easily Google the model of the drive, but seeing the numbers there, I can reassure you all that the drive is nice and fast, and moving data to and from this is going to be no problems. And also to keep in mind, if 512 gig is not enough, you can upgrade this to a higher capacity NVMe drive, which means you will have to open the laptop to replace it. Next up we have Cinebench, which is going to push the performance of this laptop to its absolute maximum. So I'll start the multi-core test, and straight away we're kicking up to 82 degrees. Alright, so the fans have started to kick in. We do have 100% on all cores. It is hovering around the 60 degree mark. When I was using this during editing, I noticed that the laptop did get a bit warm, but nowhere near the point where it was extremely hot to use. At least with this, I know that the cooling is working, the dual fans are kicking in to make sure the i5 processor stays nice and cool. I will check to see if performance mode is on, which it is now. So the benchmark score from Cinebench is 3,524 points for the multi-core score, which in comparison gives you the same performance as a 4th gen i7 4850HQ CPU, which is at 3,891 points. But honestly, at the end of the day, it's just numbers, and from my perspective on using this laptop for the time that I've had this, I've had no problems with performance with whatever I've needed to use, and that goes the same with thermals as well. Even though we've hit 85 degrees maximum on one of our cores, it's still idling around 50 degrees. The temperatures do come down, so I can't wait to take a better look at the cooling that they've implemented into this. With Cinebench out of the way, let's move on to gaming. So I do have 4 games to test, and I'll start with F.E.A.R first, as that's the least demanding of the 4 games that I've put on here. Okay, with F.E.A.R on the absolute maximum settings and 1440 by 900 resolution, we're getting pretty much 60 FPS. With the aspect ratio being 3:2, it is a little strange to find the right resolution for this, due to the game being made for 4:3 aspect ratio as well as 16:9, but 1440 by 900 seems to look like this. It's cut off a little bit at the bottom and the top, but definitely more than playable. This game is almost 17 years old, I think. 2005 this came out, so it looks nice. This game was always my one to benchmark on older computers when I'd build them and sell them, and this is the first of 3 FPS games that I've put on here, which I really didn't think of putting any other different genres of games on this to test, but hopefully the games I've loaded are more than enough to show gaming performance anyways. Temperature-wise, we're still doing quite fine, so we'll move on to Doom 2016. Before we go any further, I just want to emphasize that this is not a gaming laptop. This is meant for office use and all that sort of stuff, but you definitely can play games on this no problems. It's just that you have to lower the settings quite significantly to get a decent frame rate. With Doom 2016 booted up, I've now got to come into the graphical settings and change everything down to pretty much low. So I've pretty much got this on low settings at 1440 by 900, and while it's only cut off at the bottom and top, this is more than playable. And it actually doesn't look too bad as well, even though it's all on low. It's averaging to about 35 frames a second, which isn't too bad to be honest. Alright, so in a room full of demons, it's starting to chug a little bit, but it's still more than playable. And I found that 1440 by 900 is about the right resolution that you'd want to run games on this without sacrificing performance too much. Just for the whole sake of it, I've set most of the options in Doom to high and stuck with the same resolution, and this is what it looks like.
We cannot be allowed to leave this place.
And coming outside of the UAC facility, this is with everything on high and we're getting about 30 FPS. So for someone who likes this game as much as I do, this would be more than playable. I think 30 FPS in this preset's about what it would look like on PS4 and Xbox One anyways. But demon slaying and all that stuff on high settings, pretty good. So we'll move on. Temperature wise, we did get to 75 degrees within Doom, so now we'll move on to Crysis Remastered. I've had issues with the original Crysis running on Windows 10, so I decided to go with Crysis Remastered. Even though it's kind of inferior to the original, it's Crysis. We'll see if this laptop can run this. So resolution with Crysis Remastered, we've got 1440 by 900, and everything in the advanced options is set to low. So we'll see if this Huawei Matebook 14 can run Crysis. And unfortunately, everything's red. But it's fairly smooth though. Not red now. And now that I'm on the beach with the textures all at absolutely minimum, as you can see there, yeah, we've got 25 frames a second, and it's still red, unfortunately. However, if you were to put everything on pretty much high settings, this is what it would look like. And the game crashed, unfortunately. I tried bumping everything up to just high, not absolute maximum, and unfortunately it crashed. It is what it is. But let's try the last game, which is Grand Theft Auto Vice City Definitive Edition. I really don't know why I've decided to put this on here. I just wanted to see how this would run on a system like this. So we'll give this a go and see how good it looks, or if it's just better to stick with the OG Vice City that was released back in 2002. With pretty much everything on low settings and 1440 by 900, we'll see how this runs. Which, as you can see, it's not too bad. And honestly, it doesn't look the greatest. With how much this game has been reviewed and torn apart recently, it just doesn't look that great on low, even though it's more than playable. You're better off just sticking with the original Vice City release on PC, and I think you'd get a much more better experience out of that with a couple of mods added to it. But for the whole sake of it, I will bump this up to high, just so you can see what it looks like. Which is now a little something like this, which we're getting 10 frames a second. Does it look any better though? Ever so slightly, yeah, but stick with the original Vice City, to be honest. But I think that's the whole thing with this definitive edition, just stick to the original games. Yeah, it can look nice in some areas, but otherwise it looks better on PS2 as well. So during the gaming test, both fans were pretty much on the whole time, but they stayed relatively silent, and the maximum temperature the i5 processor got to was 75 degrees. I did have to restart the PC in between trying to play Doom, as I had some issues, but Cinebench pushed it to about 85 degrees, and in a reasonably warm office, it's staying nice and cool, so as I said, I really want to take this apart and take a look at the cooling. Alright, I've basically shown everything I needed to with this laptop. I've demonstrated gaming, benchmarks, general functionality, the features, and more, so I think now we need to jump into a fairly lengthy conclusion for this laptop. As this stands, I really do like this. It has some nifty features like the one-touch fingerprint, the easy functionality for screen mirroring, the display is nice, decent amount of ports, the hidden webcam, and a decent build. However, for the current retail price of $1,399, I just feel it is a bit much for the specifications and overall features. If you take a look at the $949 version of the Matebook, while it has a 10th gen i5 CPU, it also has a more mainstream aspect ratio with the same build quality. So if I were looking at a Huawei laptop for most of the features I've shown in the video, I would go with the Matebook D. If you want a bit more performance in the 3:2 aspect ratio, then of course this Matebook would be suitable, but that price jump from $949 to $1,399 for only just a couple of small changes isn't really that appealing, especially when this is geared towards office usage and not real high-end usage. And I won't comment on the more expensive Matebook, as that's just a bit too high in price to even consider in my honest opinion. Now, since Huawei have taken inspiration from Apple's MacBook series, it also begs the question, why not get a MacBook Air instead? Yes, that runs Mac OS, but you can get a MacBook Air for only $100 more with Apple's own M1 chip, 256GB SSD, better display in terms of brightness and contrast, Touch ID, better battery life, and more. Most people that look for a premium laptop usually think of an Apple MacBook with their known build quality, and while the Huawei definitely has a great build quality and more ports than the MacBook Air, the reputation that MacBooks have is a lot stronger than what the competing Huawei Matebook is at. So if you then want more performance, get into a fair amount of gaming, and not just only office productivity, from the same store, you can get a gaming laptop for $1,099. That has dedicated NVIDIA graphics, a 15.6-inch 144Hz display, 8GB of RAM, and also an 11th gen i5 processor. Yes, it's not all aluminium like the Huawei, but it is cheaper and does offer better performance, as well as those options for a RAM upgrade, SSD upgrade, later down the track. You could also opt for a Lenovo ThinkPad for around the same price. Their build quality is always absolutely bulletproof for the most part, so that's another option there. This laptop does have a lot of great features, don't get me wrong, but I just feel the price for this isn't quite there, especially if all you want to do is just Officeworks, conference calls, and general browsing. You could go for something in the second-hand market that will work just as well and save you some cash in the long run. I mean, for example, I bought an absolutely ridiculously spec'd Asus ROG S17 laptop that has a 10th gen i7 processor, 16GB of RAM, an RTX 2070 graphics card, and I paid $1,400 for it, which is currently the same price as the Huawei Matebook 14. You just need to shop around and find something that is suited for you, what you like in a laptop, what you will be using it for, its looks, and of course the price. That is all completely up to you. But otherwise, that's my conclusion of this laptop, I think. I'm not really one to do laptop reviews, and I have a feeling I've let a lot of people down by doing this review, but I've tried my absolute best to do as much information as I can, as well as trying to make this a professional review, and I think I've pretty much covered everything. So now it's time to take a look at the innards of this and see what we're dealing with. So we need to use a Torx 5 screwdriver to get inside of this unit. So as far as I can tell, the only things that are holding this down are the screws going around this bottom cover. We'll take all of these out and this should just pop off. Just using a plastic tool to go around and unsnap the snaps, I'm going to pull the back cover off to reveal the innards. Alright, so taking a look at the huge battery in this thing, which looks like there's 4 cells with a total capacity of 7,330 milliamp hours, which is the 56 watt hours that it said on the advertising. We've also got the dual fans, as well as the very cool heat pipe system that they've got going on here, which cools the RAM, processor, and GPU. But the only replaceable component on this is the SSD right here. Other than that, you're pretty much stuck with what you get out of the box. Taking the one screw out like so, remove the SSD, does have a QR code on there like so, and we don't have anything else. It is a SanDisk module on the SSD, but as I said, if you do want to upgrade the SSD, you can. It's just a matter of taking the screws off, popping the back cover off, undoing that one screw, taking that out, and then replacing it. But you will have to either reinstall Windows or clone your existing Windows install onto this one, but I'll leave that up to you. Also, what I want to take a quick look at as well is the pretty big speakers that are on this unit as well, which once again I'm very happy with, and there's no complaints there. So that is inside the second model of the Huawei Matebook lineup that comes in at $1,399. I believe that is everything I need to say about this laptop, and I really do hope this review is informative and in-depth as usual, and if you need to use the timestamps, then that is absolutely fine. That is why they are there. But once again, another massive thank you to Huawei for giving me this opportunity to take a look at one of their products on my channel. I really do appreciate it, and I didn't expect a really big brand like them to reach out to me, so I am quite proud of the work I've done on my channel to get to this point. And I also want to thank everyone else out there for the support with the channel all along the way. It's just been a really great journey so far. If you do want to take a look at the lineup of the Matebooks and all that, the links are in the description below, and they are not affiliate links, so I will not earn anything from any clicks or anything like that. They are just placed down there for your convenience. If you are intrigued to take a look, I'll also clarify once again that Huawei did not pay me to do this review. All opinions were my own throughout the video, and only the sample was provided for a review. Well, that's a laptop on this channel, which is very few and far between, but if you do like laptop reviews, although not quite as serious as this one, I do have some other laptops I'd like to show one day, but if you don't like laptop reviews, that's okay. It doesn't hurt to try new things, even though I've done a couple of laptop reviews already, but I think you get the point. Anyways, everyone, thank you so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate it, and as I said, I hope I've made this an informative video, and I wanted to be a bit serious for this since it is a big company I'm dealing with, but regardless, I hope you did enjoy this nonetheless. Once again, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and as always, please take care, stay safe, be good people, and I'll see you all in the next video, which I have a few plans for. We'll see how we go with them. Stay tuned, and I'll catch you in the next one. If you like this content, feel free to leave a like or a dislike if you didn't. Thanks heaps for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video.